the defense. Gustafson got past Austin. Triple try is good for Poch. Gustafson, corner pocket, got the three. See the horn set here. 16-5 run over the last 5.5 minutes for the Mystics. Barker lays it in. Now can you get a clean stop? Citron shakes loose for the lay-in. Mystics back in front. Citron left it off. Austin! Citron, Mystics in front! Really fighting through some pain over there. Late. Carla Late has had the response time and time again. See Sony Citron. She has her gait and her cadence a little different here from what happened on that last fight. Still gets it. Still lays it in. That fadeaway triple off the window in the face of Flores. Make it 32 now for Late. John back on for Washington. Into the hands of Late. Late in the lane. No! Washington survives in 4 overtimes.
Alyssa Thomas, that's what she does. She uses her body.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
Caitlin Clark was on the floor again. And this time, the image almost told the whole story before anyone even knew the final score. A Fever player trapped underneath Phoenix bodies, a hand near the neck area, legs tangled, the ball loose, everyone fighting. And somehow, in real time, the officials looked at all of that chaos and kept the game moving. No whistle, no flagrant, no immediate punishment, nothing.
Is one of the wildest games I have ever watched in my life. I watched Caitlin Clark get punched in the throat. I watched Caitlin Clark get kneed in the groin, get kneed in the ribs. I watched Caitlin Clark hit the ground repeatedly. For months now, I've been talking about how Stephanie White's system will lead to a Caitlin Clark injury.
But the next day, the WNBA came back and admitted what fans already saw. Alyssa Thomas was given a flagrant foul 2 and a 1-game suspension for reckless contact with her fist to Caitlin Clark's throat area.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, all I can say is wow at this point. When the league had a chance to make a statement, they chose the minimum punishment. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally have a decision from the WNBA. And in my opinion, it's not enough. It simply is not enough. After fans, media, and even former players spent all morning and afternoon waiting, even last night, waiting for the league to respond, the WNBA announced that Alyssa Thomas will receive just a 1-game suspension. Huh?
And that is why this Fever versus Mercury game has turned into something much bigger than a 2-point loss. Phoenix won the game 111-109. But that is not what people are talking about. They are talking about Caitlin Clark leaving with a back injury. They are talking about Stephanie White exploding after the game. They are talking about another no call. And most of all, they are asking the same question again. How many times does this have to happen before the WNBA actually protects its biggest star?
And then we're going to talk about something else that's hard to ignore. Suddenly, you're hearing Stephanie White defend Caitlin Clark. Suddenly, the Indiana Fever's president is speaking publicly defending her. But where was all of this when Caitlin Clark was being relentlessly criticized? That's what I want to know. Where was these voices when the national conversation was going in the opposite direction? Now that this story have exploded into mainstream media, everyone seems to have something to say.
Because this did not feel like just another physical basketball game. It felt like a warning sign. Before we break it down, comment "Protect Clark" if you think the league has to start treating these moments seriously. Because once you see the full sequence, Stephanie White's reaction makes a lot more sense. This game was already heated before tip-off. The Fever and Mercury had just played 2 nights earlier, and that matchup was full of tension. Technical fouls, ejections, players jawing, bodies flying. Everyone knew the rematch was going to be emotional. Therefore, this should have been one of those games where the officials set the tone early. Instead, they let it build. And Caitlin Clark came out like she knew exactly what kind of night it was going to be. She was cooking Phoenix in the first quarter. She had 13 of her 19 points early. She was hitting deep threes, attacking the rim, finding teammates, and looking like she was about to take over the entire game.
But anyways, after Caitlin Clark gets sizzling, she's on fire. 19 points, 8 assists halfway through the third, and by now she's been hit with multiple hard screens. She's been hit in the throat. She's been taken out on a three-pointer. A typical Caitlin Clark game.
Clark finished with 19 points and 8 assists in under 20 minutes. Just sit with that for a second. 19 and 8 in less than half a game. That was the pace she was on. But then the game changed. In the second quarter, Clark ended up on the floor during a loose ball scramble. Alyssa Thomas came down into the play, and the contact around Clark's body immediately had fans rewinding the clip. There was contact near the groin area. There was contact around the throat area. Then Thomas stepped over Clark while she was still down, and the officials called nothing.
Knee in the groin, fist on the throat. They hate that white girl. Look at this. She falls down. Here comes Alyssa Thomas, knee in the groin. And here she comes, fist on the throat. Knee in the groin, fist on the throat. Alyssa Thomas doing what Alyssa Thomas does, showing what a talentless hack she is. Showing what a talentless hack she is. When you don't have skill, you use physicality. Alyssa Thomas.
That is the part that made fans furious. Not just because the play looked bad in slow motion, but because everyone watching knew what would happen if that same contact happened to the wrong player at the wrong time in a different game. There would be a whistle. There would be a review. There would be a long conversation at the monitor. But with Clark on the floor, the game just kept going. And that is why the WNBA's decision the next day mattered so much. Because if the league later decided the play was bad enough for a flagrant foul 2 and a suspension, then why was it not bad enough to stop the game live? That is the question fans cannot let go of. How can something be dangerous enough on Thursday, but invisible on Wednesday?
The highest attended 20 games in WNBA history. Caitlin Clark has played in every one of those games. The highest rated games in WNBA history. Caitlin Clark, I believe, has played in either 18 or 19 out of the top 20 rated games on TV. Teams have moved their games against the Indiana Fever into NBA arenas to basically fulfill the need for the outreach and the outpouring of support for Caitlin Clark. So all the numbers tell you the impact that she has had on this league. And for the players and for anybody else not to see that, as you were talking about, how she would help raise the league and everybody would benefit from it, and then be treated the way she is on the basketball court. You could use the word disgraceful, you could use the word disrespectful, you can use the word embarrassing. You choose the word you want to use. All I can tell you is that I just think it's an embarrassing, disgraceful display of a lack of sportsmanship and understanding the big picture for the WNBA.
And that is where Stephanie White comes in. After the game, White was not just upset, she was done. She called the no call egregious. She called it disrespectful, and she said she had brought the incident to the officials at halftime.
Steph, one more on Caitlin. Obviously, you're very forceful tonight. What made you want to maybe make that statement so forcefully tonight after you defended her in the past, but obviously a little more fire?
Because they were so egregious. I mean, the fist in the throat is crazy. It's crazy. It's dangerous. The landing spot, when you went to review it and she still comes down on top of another foot, like, I don't know. Because to me, that's like a do-over on a test. How do you screw it up again? And it's just, when you have these things continue to happen time and time again, eventually it gets frustrating. But I thought those were just more egregious.
Think about that. She did not wait until after the game to complain. She told them during the game. She brought it to their attention at halftime. And according to White, the answer was basically that they did not see it.
You're coming in here aware of what happened 2 nights ago? And that still happens? Absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And the reckless closeout that they actually reviewed, and the foot still comes down on top of the defender's foot that wasn't upgraded? Absolutely disrespectful. We have a generational talent and a WNBA superstar who had 2 cheap shots right there that weren't called. And I just say, again, absolutely unacceptable.
But that excuse only makes the whole situation worse. because the same officials who did not see contact at Clark's throat somehow saw plenty when it was time to call Indiana for fouls late in the game. White pointed out that Phoenix shot 24 free throws in the second half. She also pointed out that Indiana was called for 11 fouls in the fourth quarter, compared to only 2 for Phoenix. That is why this became bigger than one play. It became about consistency, it became about trust, and it became about whether Caitlin Clark is being officiated the same way as everyone else.
Steph, do you think that the league needs to look into how Caitlin Clark is defended or how she's officiated going forward?
I mean, we spent all offseason looking at officiating. All offseason. And I still say the one thing that we keep asking for is consistency. She is not called the same way everybody else is called.
Because when fans see Clark take that kind of contact and get no call, but then watch Indiana get whistled over and over in crunch time, they do not just see bad luck, they see a pattern. And White finally said what a lot of fans have been thinking: Clark is not called the same way. That sentence hit hard because it did not sound like a coach making excuses after a loss. It sounded like a coach who has watched this happen too many times and finally ran out of patience. And then there was the closeout. Clark went up for a 3, came down awkwardly, and appeared to land on a defender's foot. That kind of play is always scary because landing space matters. Shooters are vulnerable in the air. They cannot protect themselves once they come down.
Then we have this play right here. Caitlin Clark, landing space call. Or should I say landing space no call. Shoots a 3, player gets her landing space, she gets hurt, and you see as soon as she gets hurt, boom, instantly goes to grab her back. The back that Stephanie White told us wasn't an issue. The back that's, again, this is twofold, because the coach lied about it, and then all the shills that allow this coach to lie about it, lied about it.
White was furious about how that was handled too, because from her point of view, even when the officials had a chance to review what happened, they still did not protect Clark the way they should have. And that is what makes the whole night feel so insane. Clark was not just dealing with one hard moment. She was hit. She was tangled up. She was stepped over. She landed awkwardly. Then she left the game with a back issue and did not return. By the third quarter, you could see it on her face. She was uncomfortable. She was frustrated. And eventually, she went back to the locker room. That image is what really shook fans, because Clark is not a player who looks for excuses. She does not usually make everything about herself. She gets hit, she gets up, and she keeps playing. But this time, she could not keep going. And when Caitlin Clark cannot keep going, the entire WNBA feels it. That is why her silence mattered. Clark did not need a long speech. She did not need a 10-minute rant. The image of her leaving the floor already said enough. But when she finally reacted online, fans treated it like the moment the silence broke. Because for so long, Clark has taken the hits, taken the criticism, taken the extra attention, and tried to keep moving. But this felt different. This felt like the moment where fans said, enough is enough. And they were not alone. The league itself had to step in after the game. Alyssa Thomas was suspended 1 game. The foul was upgraded. The play was finally punished. But that punishment also created a bigger problem for the WNBA. Because by punishing Thomas after the fact, the league basically confirmed that the officials missed something serious in real time. And that is the real story. Not just that Clark got hit, not just that Thomas was suspended, not just that Indiana lost by 2. The real story is that the WNBA is growing faster than ever, and every missed call now gets replayed by millions of people. Every angle gets slowed down. Every decision gets judged. And when the league's biggest star is the one on the floor, fans are not going to shrug and move on. They are going to demand answers.
If I were Caitlin Clark, I would seriously consider going to play overseas somewhere and get the royal treatment. She's been getting run over, steamrolled, shoved down, this one to the neck last night. Alyssa Thomas should be suspended with the way that looks and the way that it just comes across. I'm like, this is what the WNBA has become. I'll tell you what, if I were Caitlin Clark, I would seriously consider going to play overseas somewhere and get the royal treatment. And I know that Caitlin makes a ton of money off the court in terms of endorsements, and rightfully so, but I think that there's a petty jealousy, and she's a straight white basketball player. And she is not being treated with any sort of respect whatsoever.
That is the price of growth. The WNBA wants the ratings. It wants the attention. It wants the packed arenas. It wants the Caitlin Clark effect. But if the league wants all the benefits that come with Clark, then it also has to deal with the pressure that comes with protecting her. Because you cannot build the biggest story in women's basketball around one player, then act surprised when fans explode after she gets hit and nothing is called. And that is why this moment is not going away. Stephanie White exploded because she saw what everyone else saw. Clark left hurt because the game got out of control. Fans exploded because the no call felt impossible to defend. And the WNBA stepped in because the footage became too loud to ignore. So now the question is simple. Was one game enough? Or did the WNBA only punish Alyssa Thomas because the internet forced them to? Because if the league does not fix this now, the next Caitlin Clark controversy might be even worse. Comment Protect Clark if you think this has gone too far. And keep watching, because the fallout from this game is only just beginning.